Welcome to Sibelius 2024.10, the newest release of Sibelius for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. I'm Justin Tokke, Senior Product Designer for Sibelius, and I'll be your guide through the new features and fixes. Back in August, with the exit of Finale from the music notation software market, we on the Sibelius team pivoted and changed our plans for this release. We realized our MusicXML importer, which had not been updated in several years, needed improvement to be more useful for all our friends using Finale, Dorico, or MuseScore. We hope all of you will gain huge benefits from the number of improvements we've made for 2024.10. Let's go through a few of them now. We have included proper support for the group name tag in MusicXML. These tags have a variety of uses, but are mostly used as instrument names across more than one staff. Finale and Sibelius do this a bit differently by convention. This example will explain. Here we see two clarinet staffs for the three different clarinet players. On the top staff, clarinets 1 and 2 share a staff with the ordinal numbers stacked. In Sibelius, this is placed in the staff name, while the shared clarinet is the instrument name. It is shown between the two staves using an additional staff attached to the top instrument staff. In Finale, this convention is reversed. The staff name, which is equivalent to the instrument name in Sibelius, takes the ordinal numbers, while the clarinet goes in a staff group name. You also see this when a single staff needs stacked ordinal numbers, which in effect requires two different text objects. Finale users have often co-opted the staff group name as a single staff group for this purpose. When importing a MusicXML file from Finale, Sibelius now understands this convention and converts the Finale way to the Sibelius way properly. As seen in this orchestral example, the woodwinds and brass are now interpreted with the correct instruments. There has always been an ambiguity of what bass means when identifying an instrument. Sometimes it is used to mean the bass voice, and other times a bass instrument like a classical contrabass or a bass guitar. We've now tightened how Sibelius interprets this by assuming bass alone is now voice, but also checks if the strings.contrabass sound ID is present in the MusicXML file, which means Sibelius will choose a contrabass with an octave transposition. This will work with more modern files which support MusicXML 3.0 and later. In conjunction with the better instrument choices, we fixed up some bugs with brackets and how bar lines are joined together. Look at this orchestral example again. You can see in the original the brackets were all kind of wonky, and all the bar lines were broken vertically. Now they're all interpreted correctly and match the source file. One of the most obvious improvements is how the general layout of staves is handled in 2024.10. Page margins are much more accurate, as well as staff margins when they are defined in the source file. Vertical spacing of staves are now respected when defined in the source files. Staff justification, which is Sibelius's feature to vertically spread staves out across a whole page, is disabled in these instances, so the staves are spaced with absolute values. Previously, rehearsal marks and multi-rests, most commonly seen in individual parts, were not imported correctly. Rehearsal mark style, such as if they use the letters, numbers, or measure numbers, now retain that style. Multi-rests also collapse properly because Sibelius now turns on the multi-rest option if they are present. Generally, music engraving choices that map to Sibelius's engraving rules are respected much more reliably now. Most of these are subtle, but it should make your notation closer to the source file. There are several smaller bug fixes to the MusicXML importer, such as fixing a rare crash on macOS when importing. We've also improved the error handling when a MusicXML file has a malformed schema. The importer will now report back the line number where the error occurs, and not break the import process. Keep in mind this is not the end of the road for MusicXML. In future updates, we will continue to optimize and improve the importer so your scores come through to Sibelius as close as possible to the source files. If you find any issues when importing your scores, please do get in touch. We welcome all your feedback. Notate Glissando is a new feature and a time saver for composers and arrangers. Selecting a starting note and an ending note, you can quickly notate a long run of notes all at once. Here's how it works. First, create your starting and ending notes. The start can be any duration, as all the time between the start of that note and the start of the ending note will be used. Select both notes. Select Notate Glissando from the Note Input tab on the ribbon. You can also use the commands in the command search. Choose between diatonic or chromatic and watch as Sibelius will calculate all the notes required to fill that space. Now you can add a slur if you like, or Sibelius will even retain one that had already existed, as well as articulations on that end note, as commonly seen in these types of figures. The diatonic option will respect the current key signature, while the chromatic option will add every chromatic half step between the two pitches. Sharps are preferred in ascending glissandos and flats for descending. The clever part is how Sibelius will calculate the number of notes required and make tuplets if necessary to fit the duration. Sibelius will also respect common rules of how tuplets should be written to the meter. Tuplets are written on a beat-by-beat basis, even respecting compound meters. If you prefer to show the tuplet ratios explicitly, you can also display these with the inspector. Notate Glissando solves a common problem that happens when you're in the middle of composing and you need a big flourish. Before, you would need to mentally calculate the number of notes required. Now Sibelius does it all for you in one button. A few smaller points to mention for Sibelius 2024.10. Sibelius is now fully supported on Mac OS 15, known as Sequoia. Tuplets will now remain selected after changing a voice, making it more consistent with other editing actions. Sibelius will now respect fractional DPI scaling in Windows, such as 125%, 150%, and so on. On Sibelius for mobile, long command names are no longer cut off in the command search with the new text wrapping. We've updated the links in the Quick Start to new articles in the Avid Resource Center to help users who are migrating from other notation programs. Various other bugs and crashes were also fixed. See the What's New in Sibelius page at avid.com/resourcecenter/what's new in Sibelius for more details. That's all for today. We hope you enjoy these new features in Sibelius. We have a lot in the works, so stay tuned for more releases in the future. If you have any feedback for new features or a bug report, please do visit our feedback form. Your feedback will be compiled and read by the Sibelius team for consideration in future releases. We really appreciate your support of Sibelius, and we can't wait to show you what's coming up next.